Welcome to an IronCAD tutorial on Toby's practice models dated 9/8/2024. This is a tablet stand that's going to be done in sheet metal with a wall thickness and bend radius of 3 millimeters. Some key things we have is an overall dimension of 96 and 106 for our base stock, and then the rest of the geometry is built from that. So we have a 36 wide additional stock that gets created, and we have to build this angle here at 61 degrees and 71 from our tangency, with a driving distance from 129.45 from this top point. Typically, other systems may draw this initially in a sketch and then cut some geometry off and add these other flanges on here. It's one way to approach that, which you could also use IronCAD's capabilities to do that, but we're going to do this in a different way and show you some of the advantages of the IronCAD sheet metal handles, so at the part and feature level. So we'll go ahead and show you how to drive that. And then we'll add our slot feature, again, which in this case has to be done in the flat. It needs to know the distance from 111 from here and 58 from the back edge. So we'll show you how to do that in the flat view for sheet metal. So let's hop over to IronCAD. And a couple things you can do here. You can start in our starter catalog and go into the sheet metal folder, or go to more catalogs and select sheet metal. Both are the same, but we'll go ahead and here and drop out a stock. And we're going to hit OK. And what we're going to do in this case, we're just going to go ahead and right click and go to the part properties and set that to 3 for both the thickness and bend radius. So that will give us our starting, and then we can select on our stock and we can set the width for that to be 96 and our length for that to be 106 as our starting point. So one thing we're going to do a little unique here, instead of actually adding a stock to this and modifying that, we're just going to go ahead and add a bend feature on this. So we're going to drop this right on the center point and bend it down. In this case, so we have some handles here on our features that we can pull the stock. We can change the angle, which we'll do in a second here. We can also set the width of this going to the IntelliShape properties, and notice we have a above and below. In this case, we want to set that to 18 on both of those. That'll move them in on each end and give us a total of 36 from that center point. That's kind of why I dropped it on the center, so I can get that exact distance there and place that. So now we have that stock or that bend created like that. We also have what we call part handles. So there's 2 handles here, one for the angle and one for the length. This appears on any bend that's on the part level, which you can actually pull this out and can add material to your bend, which is kind of nice because that's what we're going to use to drive that distance. So before we do that, let's go ahead and set our angle. So we'll go back to our feature, right click on this and select our angle. In this case, it needs to be 119 because that will give us a total value of 61 there. So you can see our angle 61 for that. And while we're here, we'll go ahead and set this distance here, which is going to be to the tangency, and that needs to be 71. And that will set our value for this stock piece, if we select that, to be 65. So you can see that at the bottom is 65. Now we can use that same part handle to drive this. So one thing that's interesting is, so that handle is aligned to this edge, or this orientation with the way we drop the stock. But we need to actually set it to be vertical to this edge here. To do that, we can actually change these orientations and points. So, for example, I'm going to change the snap point to this point over here. It doesn't really have to do it. It can be anywhere on this face, but we'll put it there just to show you this. And so you can see a little dot that appears when I hover over that handle now. That's referring to that corner point over there. Now I want to also change its orientation to be perpendicular to this face. So now I have it in the right orientation. I have my snap point. I can simply right-click, edit distance from point. I can select that top point there, and I can type in the value, which needs to be 129.45, and that will change our geometry. So if we want to dimension that or reference that, you can go into our annotation ribbon bar, select our dimensions there, and you can select to either face to that point. You can see that's 129.45. Okay, so a very interesting way to add that. So now that we're in this particular shape, we're going to go ahead and add our slot feature. Because we know it's referenced from this back edge into that top edge, and then we'll add the rest of the material here in a second. So one way you can do this is you can drag and drop one of these features like a custom profile out here and edit it in the flat. But the only thing with that is when you edit in the flat, it creates reference dimensions to these edges, not driving dimensions that you can edit later. So I'll show you how to do it with driving dimensions in this case. So let's go ahead and go to our sheet metal ribbon bar. We have 2 features called Unfold and Refold bend. This is common in some other systems as well. So you can select a face, basically tell it to select all bend faces and hit OK, and that will lay it in the flat. Now we can drag and drop our feature out here, and I'm just going to drop it right on the center point there. It doesn't really matter where I drop it, but I want to use that center reference. And then I'm going to go ahead and edit the cross section by hitting Alt-E or right-clicking and adding that. And now we'll draw our groove feature, which we can just draw this here. And when we pull this out, we're going to right-click and set that thickness to 5, because that's the radius, which gives us a total of 10 for that slot. And now we can actually add a smart dimension from that point to this reference edge, which is going to be 58 in this case. And we'll do the same for the other one, and that told us to be 111, so we'll select that one, and we'll set that to 111, and hit OK. And now we can just get rid of this cylinder. I'm just going to select that and delete that. And now we have this positioned where we need it to be, in the right size. And what I meant by doing that at the unfold levels, and when I come back to this feature, I have those dimensions. I can drive them later if they ever adjusted, that I can edit them now. So now that we have this, you'll notice that when we created our unfold, it creates a feature for us. So now we need to do a refold feature to refold this back up. So I'll rotate this back around here. I'll do refold bend. I'll select this here, select all bend faces on this case, or you can just pick one. I think you can pick one, or in this case, or both. Either one will work. And you can hit refold and that'll bend that back up. So now if you want to dimension that, again, you can do a couple things here. You can do, again, just to refer that, a smart dimension from this point here to this face here, 58. So that's what it needs to be on that distance, and it's 111 on the other one. So very easy way to position that slot in the flat pattern. So now we can go ahead and add our other geometry. In this case, we're going to add some stock to this. So we're going to drag and drop a stock on here. And this needs to be 19 because we know that's 36. And if we add 19 to both sides here by just adding another stock to the other side, we'll do that one as 19 as well. That will give us the total distance of 74. So that will create that. And now we can do an outbend to maintain our distance here, which is at 65. We'll just place that there, and we can edit its distance from the sharp. In this case, it needs to be 26 inside of there. So now we've got that built inside of there. And I'm not going to add my corners here yet. We're going to add another tab here. So let's go ahead and do this one. In this case, it's going to bend up, and we need to have an outbend because we need to maintain this distance. So we'll drop an outbend here, right on the center as well. And we know the overall width of this is going to be 25. So if we double click this handle here for our width, it's set to 35. Let's set it to 25. And we know the distance from the top on this guy is setting from the back sharp there is going to be 30 for that. Now there's a couple things that it's going to have to do here. We need to add a corner relief on this, and we need to add some blends on here. So one thing that's interesting is that this is 25 millimeters wide, and actually they have a 12 millimeter radius, not a 12.5. So you don't want to do a full round here. You actually have to add two blends here. So you can use like a vertex fillet or the blend command. Either one will work. I'll do that in a second. But let's go ahead and add our corner relief. And to do that, you can just select this. You can see these are our corner relief handles here that you can move in the bend itself, or add a corner relief by selecting on that, and it adds a default setting here that you can set in your options. But we can right click on that and go ahead and set bend properties, go to the relief. And what we're going to set this to is the width is going to be 5 for that, and the depth is going to be 7.5 because it's going to add the radius, because we're going to do a rounded here of 2.5. And this is just telling that there's a formula behind there. It's just going to replace that, which is fine because these are the exact values that we want. And we're going to set that to a rounded and hit OK. So that will create that nice rounded feature there, and that'll be 10 from the top to this back side. Next, we'll go ahead and add this blend feature here, and this needs to be a set value of 12. And we'll select on the other one as well and hit OK. So now we'll get both of those. And now we can just mirror this to the opposite side. So let's go ahead and select our command that's in our feature tools here, and go ahead and say mirror feature. We'll select our part, select our feature, select our bend. Notice this will pick all of that all together. Now we can do a mirror plane. So in IronCAD, we don't actually need to create any datum planes. We can use actually edges for that reference. So we'd select that edge there in the midpoint of that, and it'll place that and allow us to create that to the other side. So now that we've got that created, the last thing that we need to do is go to our sheet metal, go to our corner breaks. In this case, we're on our part. We want to set those to 15, and notice it'll pick up all these particular cases here on the back side, these corners here and these here. So it won't mess with any of the other ones because there's no sharp edges on those. That's exactly what we want. We can just go ahead and hit OK, and that will place that. So that's all it takes to build this model. And if we select down to our part level, go to our part properties, type in 7,800 here for the kilograms, that should give us a value of 428 for this model. So hopefully you find that one useful to build this model, but that's all it takes to build that inside of there. And again, you can pull all these dimensions if you wanted to refer to those dimensions, but that will create those that geometry for you. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.